Kevin has been here doing business in the Lone Star State, but about 30 years now. I believe you visited every country on the planet, right? I see a new country on your feed every day. So, and not only that, but he goes there to actually work with entrepreneurs, doing a lot of work of assisting international entrepreneurs learn from the Austin stories and helping them come here to Texas. And what the thing that his session is focusing on, one of the biggest things that the previous panelists mentioned, and I mentioned as well, is making meaningful connections, right? Conference is great, but one thing that you really want to do from a conference is actually make some friends. Because then, as I mentioned, they can help answer questions from you, you can learn from them, and they become a resource for you. So I'm going to hand it over to Kevin for the Campfire networking session, Austin Tech Week International Track Edition. And I'm looking forward to it. I'll be participating.
Thank you, Ali. It's great to do this work with Ali, Fred, all the panelists you saw earlier. My name is Kevin Coyne. I'm the founder of TechRanch. I want to make sure, so the panelists just said all these things about Austin. And if you're not from here, there is a cultural frame that you've probably never seen about what happens here and what makes this place so special. Now, in my case, got my engineering degree at the University of Texas at Austin, worked for a Steve Jobs startup called Next, fell in love with technology startups and all that sort of stuff, spent a lot of time out in the Bay Area. But I came back. I came back because of what we were just hearing about how people work with each other. And part of the thing that's taken Austin from not listed in 1990 when I graduated from UT, was not listed, wasn't even considered a technology town at the time, to, you know, now in the top 16 most entrepreneurial cities in the world. And if we look, it's not about the number of entrepreneurs that are here, because if you look at Dallas-Fort Worth, there actually is a larger number of entrepreneurs in Dallas and Fort Worth than they're here in Austin. And so you ask, what is this thing? What is this thing that actually made it possible for you and me to be so successful in this environment? I want to talk about that. I'm going to share 3 concepts with you, but instead of just talking about the concepts, a lot of times to entrepreneurs, I say, show me, don't tell me. And so I want us to show each other about this concept. And I'm gonna ask you to be a part of this. I'm going to call it a few people. I'd like you to be thinking about it. I'm giving you a little bit of a preview to say, hey, in a second or two, you know, we're going to have very short moments for you to say what you're up to. Like, what is, you know, I want to hear from a couple of different entrepreneurs that are here that have something important to share. So we'll do that as part of this whole process. But the main thing we'll go ahead and go through, quick agenda. Welcome. What's at risk and what's possible? What events are happening in the world that we as entrepreneurs need to respond to, as well as take advantage of? Both the negative stuff that's happening, as well as the great opportunities that are happening. We'll do a connecting exercise. This is going to be radically different than any other networking that you've done in the past, because a lot of times networking, especially if you're in the Bay Area, and sorry, I am going to rag on Silicon Valley. I spent enough time out there that I can tell you the good and the bad, the ugly about that place. And there's issues that, as we especially step across a country boundary and do things in other places, one of the most important things is to capture the strengths of the other location so you can actually exercise that. I want to share with you my experience of being an entrepreneur here in Austin for 30 years. And then as an example, you know, I know something about international. I've been in 22 countries over the last 8 years. Quite literally worked with tens of thousands of entrepreneurs and engaging them across different places and stuff like that. I think I know something about it, but most importantly, I'm here to serve you. I really want, you know, this is what you're doing right now by sitting in that seat right there, right? It's either an investment or it's an expense. And what's the difference? In the investment, you expect to get something out of it, right? So you're here today. What is it that you want to get out of being in the, you know, coming to Tech Week, being in the Campfire? Tell me. Connections, but be specific. Like, connections are great. You know, it's like when we hear the word connections, or I just like to meet people. It's kind of like the teacher on the Peanuts, where, you know, what does she sound like? Wah, 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 wah. I'm sorry to push on you a little bit, but I really want you to get something out of the investment. You chose that seat. What would drive your venture forward?
Connecting with businesses that are trying to grow here in Austin.
Connecting with businesses that are
Here in Austin.
growing. Okay, so we went from here to here, and it still sounds like, well, wow. Tell me what is the most important thing? Like, if this guy was your customer, who does he have to be? Or it really to matter? Like,
Literally anybody that does business in Austin. I'm with the Chamber of Commerce.
oh, shoot. That's funny. Okay, well, shame on me.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I was about to say.
Ay, pobrecita de mí. Entonces, quizás hay una persona de Colombia aquí, from the Colombian delegation that would actually like to say, hey, this is who I want to meet, because you heard me talk last night. Actually, our friend here, tell us, who do you want to meet?
Me?
Yes, be specific. Come closer. All right, well, so the main thing about it is, in a few minutes, we're gonna spend about 15 minutes of the time we have together, and I'm gonna give you an experience of what it's like to be an entrepreneur in Austin. I worked in Silicon Valley for one of the top startups in the 90s, working for this guy named Steve Jobs. He's kind of famous, right? He's kind of famous, 3.5 years there, a company called Next, blah, 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 you know. But I absolutely hated Silicon Valley. I hated Silicon Valley because you, especially guys, you would be in like social media technology. Actually, you weren't social media technology at the time, but let's say you're in social media technology and I'm in water technology, and you and I will be at each other's throats. Like we're competing against each other. We're not competitors here. It's a bullshit idea. One of the things, especially for my friends that are from other countries, one of the bullshit ideas that's in the way of the United States right now, culturally, one of the bullshit ideas is that he and I are competitors. It creates this false narrative and it wastes a lot of energy. So if we set a context though, that we're gonna work with each other, if we really do that, right, we're gonna work, you know, the agreement of being in this space is we're gonna work with each other. Even if he's selling software services that are very similar to my software services, we can find some way of working together. In olden times, as an example, like both my grandfathers were cotton farmers, by the way. My grandfather on my mom's side, I'm losing my mic, so we might need to replace it in a second because of this. In olden times, like as an example, my grandfather was a cotton farmer here. His cotton, like about quite literally 45 minutes this direction, got destroyed by hail 7 years in a row. Kind of sucks. It's worse than not getting funded because there's no one else around in Jonah, Texas. Where's Jonah? It's right next to Taylor. Taylor's where a big $45 billion investment by Samsung's happening, but Jonah you won't be able to find. Yeah, you would. Thank you very much. All right, so back to this. The thing about it is, my grandfather, how's he going to take care of my mom, my aunt, my uncle? It's a really rough time when we think we have it hard as entrepreneurs. It's nothing compared to the stories that my family told me. But the thing that happened is, and you're a cotton farmer and I'm a cotton farmer. Aren't you my competitor? Right? No, it's fucking bullshit. The idea is, if he works with me and we work together, we get the cotton crop out before the hail came or the rain came or something else, and we have a real chance. One of the things that I've been espousing for 30 years in this town, and one of the reasons that the ecosystem is so strong, is this idea of we're going to work with each other. This false narrative of competition, social media, water technology, that happens in the Bay Area, that's bullshit. So let's actually figure out how to work together. I'm going to tell you some of the dynamics about it and all that sort of stuff. What are you working on, by the way?
Work for BMW Group.
You work for the BMW Group. Got it.
Was based in Silicon Valley for the last 14 years, so I could second what you say.
Yeah, experience.
Very transactional. It's a bit wide here, so I here in May to explore the area. I did to be correlated.
Perfect.
On my
I love your facility and unit. and I need to go back. So at some point, if I can help. Well, but as an example, in Bavaria, the Bavarians get this as well, right? One of the interesting, unique things about Bavaria versus other parts of Germany, I don't mean to rag on other parts of Germany, sorry, guys. But it's very natural, it's very communal, right? It's very, working with each other. Yeah, and so part of the thing, in this thing that he's pointing out about transactional versus relational, one of the benefits that Texas has, especially being close to Mexico, is we're a relational culture. And for an entrepreneur like me, as an example, who, grew up in San Antonio and has, family up here in Georgetown and Austin. Georgetown's the town that my mom lives in. It's just a little bit north of here. It's very, very relational. And so it fits like that. So when I was in Munich and Nuremberg, it was actually, I was like, oh, very relational. The thing that I want to say about that is that part of what happens is it's just a cultural frame though. Now, for me, it's a cultural frame I've gotten to carry into, like I said, over the last 8 years, 22 different countries. We've worked with entrepreneurs from 42 different countries. But the key thing is, how can we actually make that happen? All right, we'll go through that. Let me click and get into up wrong direction. So what we're really talking about is, what is the power of community? And the concept is, a lot of times for those of us that got exposed to too much Silicon Valley porn, and I mean the Silicon Valley porn part, not the porn part, the Silicon Valley porn about Mark Zuckerberg did it all alone, standing on the mountain. No, he didn't. He had a team, he had a support group, he had all. This is true for every entrepreneur out there. This kind of bullshit, this idea that there's one man or one woman that made something happen. It's actually a community of people. So what happened, I was working for Steve Jobs. I was working at the, next, top of the world, got to do all sorts of really cool stuff, all that sort of stuff. But at the end of the day, it sucked to be in Silicon Valley because of this false narrative. Because I grew up in Austin, and then I grew up also in the, as an early entrepreneur, working with people who were exposed to the hippie musician culture of Austin. The hippie musician culture. It's kind of funny. It's like, where I'm in my band and you're in your band, but I'm just going to help you do whatever you need to do and all this stuff. This is why, even though Dallas and Austin are in the same state, business-friendly state, Texas, even though we're in the same state, one of the things that's interesting is we're very unique in Austin because of this culture that infused. They got into the tech, tech guys like me were like, hey, this is kind of cool. People care about each other here. And so, me as an engineering geek like this, walking into my first set of things, people were like, oh, you can relax. You can actually, we're going to work together, right? That's the thing. That's the secret. It's what the power of community. Now, sometimes when I talk about this, I call it social capital, because if you do not have access to financial capital, if you don't have investors, 20 years ago, this place sucked for investment climate. People who had to go out to the Bay Area, they had to suffer through the, I'm trying to not use bad words. I'm sorry, honey. They had to suffer through the, my fiance is in the back of the room. They had to suffer through the asshole fest of Silicon Valley because that's the only place that there was investors. But the thing that happened is social capital is as valuable as financial capital any day of the week. Because we know that there are a lot of people that if you get a lot of money, but you can't hire anybody, it shows that social capital works, financial capital doesn't. Also, those of us that had to bootstrap, we learned this the hard way, right? It's like, hey, I don't have anything to pay you, but I can exchange services with you. 5 minutes of your knowledge at the right time in my startup is worth $10,000 or more. One little key insight. Hey, Kevin, stop bumping against this one wall or whatever. One little key insight. That's the power of community. So the thing that we want to say is, this is part of the context of why I started TechRanch, though. The words here, it says, William Gibson, the science fiction writer, says, the future's already here. It's just not widely distributed yet. Part of the idea, you've heard this quote before. Many people stood in front of you and said, the future's already here. It's just not widely distributed yet. So if you believe this, and you believe what I just said about social capital, then what we have to do is we have to find all these entrepreneurs, all the world's problems have already been solved. It's just a matter of connecting the entrepreneur to the solution, the market to the problem. And more than likely, there's a country boundary between those. And so the idea that I want you to hear about is that what I'm on a personal mission to do is let's take this thing that drove Austin, the Austin ecosystem, and let's export that. Let's replace the Silicon Valley porn with the Austin musician hippie. We care about each other. And because you already figured out how to solve my health problem, but you're a country away. I'll give you a good example. Right now, we're working with a Hungarian. He's got a prostate cancer test. It's more than 1,000 times more accurate than the one that's being used right now in the United States. More than 1,000 times more accurate. And the cool thing about it is it's the same cost. Pee in a cup, hand it to the guy. They figure out stuff. And for men that might have a false positive that comes from the existing US test, they get to go do a painful biopsy. Nothing pleasant about it. And so a lot of reason prostate cancer still plays in this country is a lot of men say, wow, no, I'm not going to do that. Well, this one Hungarian that I got to meet in 2021, which was in Budapest, has the answer. Now, it was science at the time in 2021. Now it's technology just about to turn into a product. And it's the sort of thing that, can you imagine how many men wouldn't have to suffer? Same thing about breast cancer as well. We have a similar example out of Singapore for that. And so part of the idea is let's go find the different technologies. Let's engage this network of entrepreneurs together from a standpoint of working with each other. The Austin hippie musician kind of thing that informed me, that also informed the Austin ecosystem and built the ecosystem that you've now come over to Austin to plug into. That's it. And if you see that vision, then part of what we can do is we can start dealing with this sort of stuff. This is a TechCrunch article from just a few weeks ago. It says a comprehensive list of the 2024 tech layoffs. I think no one has a question about all the disruptions. The disruptions right now, probably because of the election, are not being, we're not seeing as much about it. And I'm not trying to make a political statement about making that, because it's kind of scary when when our friends start losing their jobs and all that good stuff. But it's a rallying cry for us entrepreneurs that are in the room, right? Many of you raised your hands earlier and said you were entrepreneurs when one of the panelists asked about that. It's a rallying cry for saying, hey, let's do something about that. There's all this muscle, just like in 2008. There were all these engineers that lost their jobs. Engineers usually don't lose their jobs, right? And so I would be speaking in front of crowds and they'd be like, oh crap, we've never lost a job. We're not supposed to lose a job. We need to do something with this muscle. Second thing is, social media is absolutely tearing us apart. What the hell? One of our entrepreneurs for many years, haven't seen in a while. So the social media is tearing us apart. It's tearing us apart. And even on stupid issues. Political issues, okay, maybe there's something to be said there. But even on stupid issues, they're just ripping us apart. So we have to do something about that because this is what we're up against. Electric vehicles, a lot of people that are doing an internal combustion engine cars are about to lose their jobs. We've got AI that's doing all sorts of disruptions as well. We're having, the China relationship. Are we going to go to war? Is this like going to be all out war, World War III? I have any freaking idea. Now, there's some positive stuff. Biden's policies to engage in the CHIPS Act. Lots of money is being launched, not just in this country. A few weeks ago, I was in Mexico City for the ITSE conference, which essentially is a technology program that's for pulling in 8 Latin American countries, including Colombia, by the way, including Mexico. We lose this again, so I apologize about that. There's opportunity there that we need to figure out how to bind together, because a lot of times startups have a hard time getting access to these really large grants. Samsung, no problem, $45 billion grant. Okay, got it. Or it's not 45 billion, but it's high. But for startups, how do we actually take advantage of that? And then the final thing, because I'm in Texan, there's this I've got a Texas and Mexico flag. Texans have known for a long time that their #1 trading partner is Mexico. Mexico is known for a long time. Number one trading partner is Texas. What's interesting is the change that has happened in recent years, actually recent weeks. Just a few weeks ago, or a handful of weeks ago, China was displaced by Mexico and the United States being number one trading partners with each other. And for my Colombian friends, you know, I actually think that this is an opportunity, not just for Texas or Mexico or US or Mexico, but for the Americas, right? Especially for the Americas. And I'm not trying to discount my European or Asian friends or African friends, or Australian friends. Do we have any Australians in the house? Okay, cool. We've done a lot of work with Adelaide, so I'd love to find out more about where you guys are from. I have another story about this. I'm going to take a sidetrack. In Adelaide, there's a technology that was partnered through Austin into Ethiopia to take on a disease called leishmaniasis. There's not one problem together that we can't solve and solve inexpensively. That leishmaniasis is a disease that poor people get, and so it's largely ignored. But there's at Flinders University in Adelaide, Australia, there's a group of engineers that has two technologies on one floor of a building or another floor of the building that had never talked before, but because they wheeled me through that, I'm like, oh, we could take this and that, and we could actually go solve this little problem. I'm utterly convinced that this idea that we don't have to do it on billion-dollar budgets. We can do really interesting things with just us. All right, and this is why it's possible. Everything's going to get messed up. You know, there's things that say that AI is going to disrupt most jobs within the next 5 years, and people are going to be trying to find something new. All right, let's take advantage of it as entrepreneurs, and let's create a soft landing. So the problem is that we're here in the desert. A lot of times the entrepreneur starts his or her business and is suffering, right? It's like there's no one there. My mom, for the first 10 years of me being my business, I had actually made a lot of money at the very beginning of my company, but you know, every once in a while it's like this, like this, like this, like this. Being in the desert all alone, kind of sucks to be in the desert all alone, right? You know, it's like entrepreneurs, there are a lot of people who want to take on these challenges, but they end up being here. This is what the desert looks like. I call it the Venture Valley of Death. And this is the idea about the Venture Valley of Death. The thing is, the red line is not just that you're losing money, you're bleeding. You're bleeding, you're crying, you're like trying to figure out how do I deal with this thing about I really want to solve cancer or do whatever you're up to, right? But I don't really know. This is what I said earlier. We got to learn from the hippie musicians that settled Austin, and then the cotton farmers before that, and say, I'm going to help you, you're going to help me. And when we have someone who appears like a competitor, we have to kind of bring them in and actually remind them of a few things. And there's a really simple way we can do this. If you're starting to believe any of the things that I'm saying, I've got like hundreds of examples of this, where entrepreneurs in Austin that didn't have any chance, the only thing that they thought would be go to Silicon Valley and suffer through the sucky culture out there. I mean, I like being close to Napa. I love Lake Tahoe, but sometimes I'm like, come on, guys, give it a break. The only way to get across this is we have to change that mindset. And the worst part about this is there are funding people that want to get involved in your venture, but they're going to show up here after you've figured out what your business is, what your business model is, after you've gone breakthrough. And really, a lot of times you shouldn't talk to them, or you can talk to them over here, but this is a bad place unless you're looking for a job. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to figure out how to do this community thing I'm pointing to. Because if you know, it's funding. I'm not anti-funding. Sometimes when I get this evangelical about this concept, people are like, dude, that guy doesn't like investors. There's a story I can tell you or two that might lean me that way. But the truth is that if we overlook the thing that made this country strong, that made all countries strong, the community, we miss the point. And sometimes as tech entrepreneurs, especially, we do that because of exposure to Silicon Valley porn. So, one more click. Can I have a click, please? So there's this, we've been building a global network. The main thing about it is you should have a global network as well. We're gonna start that and actualizing it right now, just because it's really critical to do this because, you know, it's kind of cool. You get a couple Australians with a couple ideas connected to a doctor out of Houston with some entrepreneurial guys in Austin that then take on, you know, leishmaniasis in Ethiopia. Or I've got 30 different examples of that if anyone wants to talk to, or if you're looking for the way to connect in and if you have a solution like that, I'd like to personally talk to you. But yeah, the simple thing is, I'm going to tell you one more story. When these Conestoga wagons met, now they met in St. Louis, your family, my family, his family, we didn't know each other before we went west. And they work with me, it's like my family didn't go to California, by the way, they came to Texas. But the metaphor works that our families didn't know each other beforehand, and we're about to take an existential risk with each other for a better future. So we had to figure this out. We now live in this world where we can kind of ignore the other guys and not do this community thing. It's also, we see why it's like tearing into the culture of this country, but it's tearing into the culture around the world. And I just remind you, they took an existential risk with each other to build a better future. It's really simple in this African proverb. If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. That concept is there. What we're going to do is I want you to have an experience of this with each other and hold each other in this way, because it's pretty profound. Is anyone working on something that truly saves someone's life? Any entrepreneurs in the room that have an example of something like that? That you're working on a piece of technology. I know that there are people in here that are doing stuff like that. I just don't know who to call on because, you know, otherwise I'm calling it a chamber guy. Nothing against the chamber. I know RD. What are you working on?
I'm interested in doing some recycling stuff that will work with robotics and lower the barrier to entry to housing.
So lowering the basic barrier. So I know RD. RD, tell us, why do you care about housing?
Because as a kid, I had some batshit crazy parents, and from the time I was born to the time I went off to college, I lived in 43 different places and went to 13 different schools. I spent many hours dumpster diving. So for my day-to-day existence and food and clothing,
Got it. So,
collecting aluminum cans. So it showed me how much we waste in our society.
well, and the thing underneath that is building housing for people who are homeless is kind of an important thing to help. So as an example, part of the thing that I want to do with all of you is, if we really push you, there is a story about why you're suffering through the ills of entrepreneurship. There's a story about why, especially for some of you that are here just this week for this conference, there's a story about why, you know, and it's usually much more significant than just, I'm going to make money in the United States. That's an okay story. The one that's even deeper than that, like we see just, so that's the one I want you to be able to get to, because it's what enables this. It's what enables this. I am almost 27-year student of Aikido. If you've ever heard about Aikido, Aikido is called the Budo of love, the martial art of love. Why do we even talk about it? It's about I can take care of myself without having to harm the other person if some kind of conflict happens. If some kind of conflict, actually, I won't pick on you with him because he's the guy. Like, you know, if you and I, something happens, how can we actually take care of each other? So because I've been studying Aikido for so many decades, part of what imbued in me as an entrepreneur was, how do we actually use these type of techniques so that we can take care of each other, even though we're like, you know, it's like, you know, we're fighting, whatever. There's a bunch of different concepts behind that I'd like to talk about, but in terms of short amounts of time available, core values. And I'm going to ask for the next few minutes as we do this exercise that you work within the four values. The first one is respect. Even though you might be a multi-billionaire and I might be a guy that just showed up out of college or something like that, you know, sometimes we treat people like that. One of the beautiful things about Austin, Cammie, my fiance, she says it all the time. One of the beautiful things about Austin is a lot of times you can see a guy on the street. And you don't know, he's in a t-shirt here in Austin, you don't know if he's a multi-millionaire or if he's homeless. Right? I mean that a little bit tongue in cheek, but there's a truth to that, especially in that historical thing of Austin. If it wasn't like this, it's like this. It's like you and I can see each other eye to eye. And the thing that makes it possible is just respect. I don't have to agree with you. I don't have to see the world the way you do. But if we start with respect, just like happens on the Aikido map, if we start with respect, then we can do all sorts of wonderful things. Because if we start with respect, then when I encourage and push you to take a risk, when you know then I'm not just being an asshole towards you. Right? It's like I'm going to lovingly push you and you're going to lovingly push me because we have a little bit of time on this planet. We can make it a better place and we can build our businesses to do so. Now, my personal thing, Kevin Coyne might push you to build your business in a way that not only makes money, but also has a significant impact with what happens with the venture. There's nothing wrong with it. Sorry. For this microphone, probably moving around too much. All right, perfect. Thank you very much. All right, so the idea about that is we can push each other, right? We can push each other because if it's offered in respect, like what's implied in this photo, if it's offered in respect where I'm attacking you in a simulated attack, but I know you're not being a dick. And there's something interesting that can come out of this, right? Something that wonderful that can come out of it. You can actually really help prepare me for the investor conversation. I can help prepare you for the Thursday nights where you're trying to figure out how you're going to make payroll on Friday morning and you don't know. Because the respect is offered, so we push each other to take the risk to get to the next level. And the third is to remind you about community. You've heard me say that about 1,000 times now doing this. So I won't say anything more about community other than I think community is the answer. And the fourth one is excellence. The main thing about excellence is I'm a recovering perfectionist. Most entrepreneurs that I've met have some measure of perfectionism that they're dealing with. And the issue at hand is we have to remember, howdy. We have to remember that part of what we need to do is deliver on excellence. Now, I was pushing him a little bit earlier and then I found out he was in the chamber, but part of the thing, even from a person that's in the chamber, like if you really do your job at the chamber, what do you really want to have happen out of it?
Awesome. Live, work, play, and grow.
What does it mean to have it be the best place to live? Let's just focus on that. Go specific. Okay, 10 minutes. I got 10 minutes. I tell you what, I'm not going to talk anymore about that. Let's do this. We're going to build the business through the community. Part of what I want you to do is you're going to stand up. You're going to get in groups of 5. You're going to have 2 minutes per person, and I'll try to make it a minute and a half. Someone's going to time. And what I want you to do is say, hey, what's my name? My name's Kevin Coyne. What's my offer? My offer is I know how to get a startup from 0 to 1. Whether it's 0 to 1 here and you just started, or 0 to 1, you're in Colombia, you come to the United States, and you want to get your US based entity 0 to 1. I know how to do that. And that's something that all my taxes are there for. And what's your request? And don't do a general request. Do hey, what I really need to find right now is a person that does the following thing. What I want to do is break up. Stand up, don't stand in a group with other people that you know and say that. We're going to do one really quick round because I thought I had a little bit more time than I just got signaled. So, but try that out. Stand up and get in groups of 5. Someone time. Name, offer, request.
There.
Hey.
We got 2, 3.
Whatever you do, don't talk about the weather.
So my name's Caleb. I work for designs, executive compensation packages. So, you know, CEO, and the executive vice. We have the CEO, design profit sharing style programs to allow the executive to participate in profit company without actually having to. Allow them to form a business and allow them to feel accountable and part of the profit while also protecting the business and they're going to be with me for a couple of years. For a long time, you're still going to have and my request would be finding someone that honestly typically with more than 50 employees can take. That's when you don't have that problem. So yeah, CFO, the person that runs the business, do that in a minute, so go. Go ahead.
Okay, well, that video, my name is Lisa, director of the community, all these, we have like, after many, like, many Latinas, Hispanic, they are, like, into training, like, all this. And I feel like it's some time with the community or here read those like and say, hey, this is what we with that. So I need to start a conversation, but I want to have we start out with this community and then we everybody has something to do with great the better, right? So I feel like we have to support economy to have a better community as well.
Is that in a minute? Wait, what's your one request though?
Connect with you. See, don't know where you are doing, and then we can collaborate. So I want to like a
Cool. Ready?
So I will.
I'll crush that in a minute. You got four.
Like it'd be nice to start my own business. Why did that go? I don't have no idea, but yeah, that's it.
To take my application and give me my.
Also met a recruiter yesterday that does exactly what they're looking for. So she literally does IT.
She did that.
Okay, so if I could have your attention, really quick. Hey, teams, help me grab everyone's attention So part of what I'd like to do is, if we had more time, we do this one more round, because the thing that I'd like to do is, hey, Angela, could I have y'all's attention too? Yeah, sorry to interrupt, you guys cheated by having too many people, but, no, sorry. Part of what I do is, y'all will get a chance to meet, like, we have lunch that's just about to happen, and so, yeah, our group will be here too. The main thing that I want to say is, since we're about to have this officially closed, part of the thing I want you to do, if you didn't have someone make a significant connection in the group, then part of the thing that's valuable to see is some of the other connections that were made, where someone says, hey, wait, I just spent a minute and a half and I just found the following connection. Now that I know, I asked them about here, I know there's one significant connection here, but before we go to them, are there any other examples where you can say, hey, wait, guess what I just found? Yes, sir, right here.
Yeah, so, hi, my name's Chuck. I work at Plug and Play Tech Center. We do a lot of different things, but one of the things we do is that we have a venture fund that invests in 2,000 companies. We invest pre-seed Series A, $50K to $2 million checks. And we also.
Let me ask you real quick, just for the sake of time.
Yeah.
Did y'all make a good connection around for Plug and Play?
Yes, so the reason why with the Texas Labor Commission, so we have a lot of folks who need interns or other employees for jobs, and through the program that you offered, now I have a plug.
Hey, so this is a great example. You know, we talked about the disruptions that are happening. And he's got a lot of companies in the Plug and Play portfolio. She has a bunch of people. Go ahead. Yeah, interns, employees, people who need to get connected in. This is what, we want to make it an efficient market. We have to do that. Otherwise, people are at home watching reruns of some stupid program on Netflix, losing their minds, not sure what's going to happen. So that's a very critical connection, right? What about over here? Did y'all have one significant connection that you'd like to just say really quick?
I mean, I feel like she's looking for a job in, the IT space, and I just met an IT recruiter yesterday, so I'm pretty sure she just got.
Yeah, and that one little connection you made in a minute and a half could change her life with that next opportunity. That's a great example.
I just said last like 1 minute and a half. Last like 1 minute.
We did it under a minute, just so you know. I'm not bragging or anything, but it was under a minute.
Take some time.
They're kicking butt over there. What about right here? You guys gave a great example. We have a gentleman from Mexico and a gentleman from Ukraine, Slava Ukraini. Thank you.
So I'm from Mexico, but I've been here in Austin for 20 years. I worked at Dell for 16 years. I was just part of the layoff that started in August. So I'm in the concept of building a company, leveraging IT companies in Latin America that can upsell in the US. We're bringing their solutions here in the US using their solutions.
Yeah, the United States has this desperate need for engineers. It's insane, right? There's so many opportunities that it's insane. So go ahead.
So team from Retrain, he has all the solutions for Retrain, coming to the US. He doesn't know the market. We know the market here in the corner. So we can also start using people in Ukraine and other Latin America, both in the market.
Yeah, having representation in a war-torn country that shouldn't have freaking invaders in that country. And so, yeah, supporting our friends and brothers and sisters in Ukraine. That's a beautiful example.
Yeah.
How about over here? Oh, come on, guys. I know that if I push you a little bit. Yes, ma'am. Here, I'll walk over here so that these people get to hear. Tell me.
Yeah, very large firm called House.
Yeah, so getting access to other businesses that need assistance. Yeah, I mean, it's rough starting a business, building a business, running a business. Every once in a while, we need someone to toughen up for us to take care of things. That's important. So yeah, cool. Anyone else over here? So I want to push you guys. You're about to go to lunch. And the main thing about it is the worst part of what happens around entrepreneurs, and it really makes me sad, is when they get together and they're like, hey, what do you think about the weather? What do you think about the game? What do you think, wow, I had a couple of drinks too much last night, blah, blah, blah. And then I walk away and nothing freaking happened. It was an expense. It wasn't an investment. The main thing is I should go over here and say, hey, that crazy guy, Kevin, blah, 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 he's talking about the Austin hippie musicians. I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna try that, My name is, my offer is this, my request is this. And the thing, if we had a little bit more time, part of what I would push you on, that you should learn from this place, Austin, is people would speak from their hearts. There is some why. If you've ever watched Simon Sinek, he talks about why, the power of why. Get to your freaking why. Do it while you're in Austin. You can say, hey, just for this little bit of time, I just spent $5,000 and I'm away from my family in Cali, Colombia. Where's my guy from Cali? Who's here, or some other part of Colombia or whoever, wherever you're from. Even if you're here from, Round Rock or something like that, which is the town a little bit north of here. The main thing is you're making an investment of time. Make sure it's an investment. Don't talk about the weather. Don't talk about the game. Talk about the business you're building. Don't just market it though. Tell me or tell him why he should give a shit. At the end of the day, if our business succeeds, what we're committed to in the community is X, whatever it might be. The example here warmed my heart because I know that Alexi is up against really hard shit. To have a friendly voice with a slightly Mexican accent that says, "Estoy aquí para ayudarte." I'm here to help you. Is a beautiful thing, right? And with this, we can change the world for the better. And we can do it without having to increase our taxes or anything else, blah, 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 blah. Because at the end of the day, there's not any politicians that are going to figure this out. It's always been the entrepreneurs. It always will be the entrepreneurs. The entrepreneurs are the purveyors of culture. We're the people who build the things and we create the culture around it that makes it possible for us to make a better world. With that, you have work to do. If anyone wants to talk to me and the follow-up on this, I'll talk to you, but you've got to give me your scalps. I want 5 scalps. If you ever saw Inglourious Bastards, what do I mean by that? 5 scalps. I want to know that you talk to 5 other people and I want to know what the results are. That's the thing. If you come up to me and tell me the following thing about what I'm up to and all that sort of stuff, and you want to interact with me, what do I want? Even our Chamber of Commerce guy, I want 5 scalps. I want you to tell me 5 interactions you did, because then I will know that we're building the world that we want to build together. Thank you. It's my honor to be here with you guys. Go kick ass.
Thank you very much. I think the favorite part of the conference is here. It's lunchtime. We will have just about an hour for lunch. Please connect. Please meet other people. We'll be back here at 1 p.m. 1 p.m.